terms of the factorizing. So what should I write? 3x. I write down 3x and 2xy. I don't understand what you're trying to say. What should I do? Factorize by grouping, right? You managed to do question 1ACE, 2ACE. Huh? Yeah, precisely. So because you know how to do 1A, 1 and 2, then this question itself, how does it differ from the rest? We also do a pairing, right? So this pair, what is the common factor? What's the common factor between x squared and minus 3x? X, right? So only 1x and we'll be left with 1x minus 3. Right? Then the next one? Is it just y? You think carefully. What's the common factor between 2xy and minus 6y? 2. Positive 2. And then y, and what is left in between inside? X minus 3. And then after that, alright, now, followed by, and then followed by x minus 3. Now, better? Okay. Next, we look at 4D. Okay. So we have x squared y squared minus 5x squared y minus 5xy squared plus xy cubed. Okay. We need to be able to recognize the correct powers to the correct base. Okay. So the powers square has what base itself? It is the base that is directly below the power, not everything in front of, okay? It is only the one that is directly below. Okay? So again, looking at grouping, pairing things up, what should I have, Joshua? First two terms, common factor is x squared. Anything else? Y, okay? And then, any more? Okay, then what's left inside the brackets? Y minus 5. Okay? Then in the next pair, what do I get? Common factor is it a plus or minus? Minus, okay, x y squared. Anything else? Then what's left? 5 plus y. You sure it's plus y? Why is it minus? Because in front it's a minus, right? So down here must be a minus. Okay? Then at this stage, what we need to do is 1 minus 5 and 5 minus y the same. No, right? Okay? So actually we need to do a flip. So actually we wouldn't have encountered this problem if the decision was to be a plus. Okay? So if you had the decision of the minus sign here, then when you want to do the flip, okay, to change 5 minus y to y minus 5, right? That means that there must be an additional negative here. So negative and negative gives us a positive. Hence we are looking at positive xy squared times y minus 5. For which I'm going to have y minus 5 and then x squared y plus xy squared. What is this answer? No, why not? Yes, Kelly. Sorry, factorize? There's still a common factor. Okay, so inside here is still not yet complete. There's still a common factor. Okay, and what is the common factor? It's a single x and a single y. Okay, so xy is to be taken out, for which I'm left with 1x and 1y. Okay, so may not feel trapped to get here if you had noticed right at the start that across all terms there is a common factor of x and y. Okay, so if there's a single x and a single y already here, right, you could have actually done that extraction first. Okay, then do the thing. Right, so this is just an alternative.
So 2b, 3b, cross 2ab, cross 3
3AB. To get a negative 5AB, it will be when both are negative and they add up to give us negative 5AB. Likewise here, negative, negative. And negative times negative does give us positive. And therefore, our answer will be negative sign on the outside, followed by A minus 2B and A minus 3B. Okay? Questions? Right? If there are no questions, I want us to do part F, okay, on our own. Could I give you 3 minutes to go on that? Pause our work for a moment if you're doing part G and H. Okay, so let's take a look at maybe JH's answer first. Okay, because we see that all the answers are different, right? So which one is exactly correct? Okay, so but there are some similarities. All of them decided to take out negative sign first, which I think most of you also did the same. As I walked around, I saw your work. Okay, most of you took out the negative sign first. So at this stage, I think all of us are on the correct page. Okay, but maybe for Jishin we forgot to write down this square here. Okay, right? Then after that, all of us also proceeded to do the cross method. Okay, so the cross method is also correctly done. Right? Not a problem. Okay, so what Jishin has gotten is a negative 2C minus 6D following this line, followed by C minus 3D following this line here. Okay? And then after that, it went from here to here. Which I think maybe some of us are a little bit confused. How did this happen? Right? Okay, maybe some of us are confused. But I believe that at this stage, all of us are okay with this. Correct or not? Okay, we're all okay with this, huh? Right? And we see that is what Lucas A and Z is trying to get at also, but they are missing a little bit of things because for Z, what is it that is missing? The negative sign, about that. Okay, follow through. Right? And then for Lucas A, what is it that he forgot? He has here, in case you cannot see, he wrote this. Huh? He forgot the D, right? Because this says 2C minus 6D and C minus 3D. So there's a missing D over here. Right? So he forgot about that. Okay? Are we all okay with arriving up to this step? Cannot? Okay? But actually, JJ's answer is the one that's correct. Right? Now why? Okay? All these answers over here are incomplete. Because we need to remind ourselves that 2C minus 6, within that factor, is there a common factor? There is a common factor. So, if I would write it here first, okay, while all of us may be able to arrive at this step, we need to remember that there's a common factor over here of 2, for which I should factorize out the 2, and then I'll be left with C minus 3D. Okay, but this is still not enough because you need to recognize that C minus 3D and C minus 3D is a repeated multiplication for which you need to simplify it into C minus 3D squared. So this is my explanation to how Jishin managed to arrive from this step to this step. Okay, it did skip a little bit of steps over there, okay, which is okay, but I think for all of us to understand where and how we got it, this is how we arrived. Okay. Questions? Okay? Alright. Now at this juncture, before we move into these 2 questions, I want to make use of this opportunity to kind of summarize for us our factorization skills. Okay? We recognize that we constantly face a problem in factorizing incompletely. Where we saw over here, we leave our answers to 2C minus 6D. We always leave it to that. Okay, and that is because it is not in our first cut of factors across all terms. So we have not yet developed that habit. So to summarize factorization, okay, when I erase this card here, okay, the very first thing that we must start off with doing is to check for common factors, okay, throughout all the terms. Okay. Check for common factors. Right? For which we see that if there are common factors, okay, maybe let's wait for Lucas to join us. Lucas, your answer is out the D. Okay, down here is 2C minus 6D and C minus 3D. So you miss out the D, and then 2C minus 6 is also incomplete. Okay, so maybe Trina can explain to you how to arrive at this answer here for JJ. Okay, so after we have done the check, okay, if there is common factor, how should I write it? Yes, there are common factors. Then what should we do? What happens if there are common factors? Then we need to do the method, the process of extracting common factors. Okay, what if there isn't any common factors? Okay, if there isn't, then we are going to employ our other methods of factorizing. Okay, what other methods of factorizing do we have other than extracting common factors? So maybe I'll just write here first. We have extracting common factors, and based on the homework that we just submitted, we have by grouping. Okay, and then now we have our cross method. For grouping and cross method is a very specific way of doing things, rather a very specific kind of expression that will allow us to do by grouping and cross method. Okay, by grouping, what kind of expression do we usually see? There must be how many terms? 4 terms, right? So we can check, okay, if there isn't any common factors already, we check whether there is how many terms. So we ask ourselves this, how many terms are there? Okay, and if there is 4, okay, 4 terms, meaning to say looking at something like this, okay, the operation is anyhow one, okay, 4 separate terms, then we are going to apply our grouping. Right? And then, what if there are 3 terms? What if there are 3 terms? What can we do? We can do the cross method, but on one condition. It must be quadratic. Okay? So 3 terms and quadratic. Alright, so that is, for example, something x squared plus, maybe just to use one example here, x squared plus 6 and 3 times. Okay, for example, x squared plus 6x plus 9x plus 18. Okay, this is where you can do by cross method. Right? So this should be the logical process that you go through whenever you do factorization. Okay, check for common terms first. Then after that, ask yourself how many terms are there. Right? If there is no common factors. Okay, then after that, if there's 4, you should do by grouping. If there's 3, then you should do by cross method. Okay? Questions? Alright. Now, we go back to practice now 16. Are we done with that already? or you're still doing it? How many of you are still doing this? Okay, can I give you about 5 minutes to do on that? Okay, class. Let's check the answers. Okay, let's do with H first. Okay, from coordinate answer. They have gotten 3xy minus 8 and xy plus 2. Okay, so is that the correct answer? Yes? Okay, I'm not sure how many of you have a problem in starting this question in the first place because you might be very thrown off with this 3x squared y squared. Okay, so maybe you wouldn't know what to even do with it. I want us to know that 3x squared y squared is the same as 3xy squared because x squared y squared is a repeated multiplication of your x times and then your y also times, right? Which if I write it as xy bracket squared, it is also a repeated multiplication of xy times xy, for which I also have 2 x's and I also have 2 y's. Okay? If you manage to understand this, then naturally when we do our cross method, we will have 3xy and 1xy. Okay, because the factors are just 3 and 1. Okay, so then after that, filling out the rest of the table, we will get this, right? Then we need to determine what will give us 16. So 8 and 2 gives us 16, and then we try, okay, and do a cross method such that we can get this method, this answer itself. Okay, so the answer will be 3xy minus 8 times xy plus 2. Right? Questions? Next, we look at part G. Okay, I'm a little bit disappointed by part G because despite my very elaborate thought process that we should go through, okay, both Faith and Emmanuel failed to use what I went through. What is the very first thing that we should do? Check for common factors, right? So 6pq squared minus 57pqr plus 105pr squared. Is there any common factors? There is a common factor, right? Okay. Other than 3, what else? P. Okay. Because if you had noticed that, you wouldn't have such a hard time. Because with this, I actually don't even know how you even arrange things like that. Because I have never taught you 3 variables and then put it into the table. So I must also applaud these 2 people for managing to even come up with this. Okay, which I believe many of you also did the same. Right? I have not taught you, okay, PQ squared, PR squared, and PQR squared, 3 variables, you know, okay, how to arrange it into the table. Alright? So, how did this happen? I'm not sure. Okay, also another thing I want to point out to Faith is that 6pq squared is not 3pq times, 2pq times 3pq. Okay, because p times p is giving us p squared. This is only 1p. So actually this here is not correct. Okay, so with such an elaborate expression here, you should really go and check for common factors. Okay, you must have a very fixed set of way of doing things. It cannot be like today I follow this structure, tomorrow I follow different structure. If you have a different structure every day, you will not build a routine. Okay, just like for example, okay, our dear book of the day, greatest of all time, okay, sleep every day the same way, same time, okay, same maths period, same maths teacher. That's why he's so good at sleeping, right or not? Okay, but that's not the purpose. Alright, that's not the point. Okay, you're not supposed to be sleeping my class. Alright, so you should do the same set of process. Check for common factors, take it out first, and then it will be much easier for yourself because you'll be left with 2q squared minus away 19qr, okay, plus 3/5r squared. Okay, right? Then after that we focus on the 2q squared positive 35r squared, negative 19qr. Okay, and then we arrange it 2q and q. Our life is definitely much easier this way, right? 35, we can consider 7 and 5 maybe. But to speed up the process, I'll tell you that we should be taking 5 first and 7. Okay, so I'll get 5r cubed and then 14 r cubed or q out. Right, and in order to get negative 19, it should be negative negative here, negative negative over here. So to continue, our answer should be 3p times 2q minus 5r times q minus 7r. Okay? Questions? Alright, so I am not wasting my time over here writing this. We're trying to summarize with the process in our factorizing. Okay? Now, so with that, we're done with exercise chapter 3.4. So homework for exercise 3C. Okay, questions are also found here. Would I have it due on Friday? Okay, no point delaying it. Alright, today is Tuesday. Can I have your Friday? I see you all on Friday. Yes, okay, so due on